Now, it was a coordinated attack as far as land, sea and air is concerned. We do know that Hamas was responsible, but was it the only one? Many believe it was orchestrated from the Iranian side, a claim that, of course, has now been rebutted vehemently by Tehran. In fact, it is a Wall Street Journal report that has alleged that Iran helped Hamas carry out this dastardly attack. They gave them the green signal, the go-ahead on the same. Let's take you through the details of what exactly this Wall Street Journal report highlights. This report claims that security officials from Iran helped Hamas plan this surprise attack on Israel. The Iranian IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, worked with Hamas since August to plan this air, land and sea incursions, is what this report suggests. The IRGC and the 4 Iran-backed terrorist groups, including the Hamas, which holds power in Gaza, Hezbollah too, political faction from Lebanon, all of them attended this particular meeting, is what this report goes on to suggest. The green light for this attacks was given on Monday, that is the 2nd of October, during a meeting that was held in Lebanon's capital in Beirut. This is what the report claims. The WSJ report also then goes on to say that the Iranian president spoke to the Palestinian Islamic Jihad leader and Hamas chief as well before it was put into action. Hamas and Hezbollah terrorist leaders have met with the Iranian Quds force leaders as well, is what this report claims. The meeting between these leaders took place bi-weekly. This happened since August, and since then this planning was being done, which was then put in action over this weekend. Iranian foreign minister attended at least 2 of these meetings, is also what this report claims. Now, the United States has refrained from commenting directly on any involvement as far as Tehran is concerned in what seems to be the deadliest attack on Israel since the 1973 Yom Kippur War. The Wall Street Journal report said that a European official and an advisor to the Syrian government gave the same account of Iran's involvement as well. Iranian officials at the United Nations said that Iran supports Gaza's actions, but they did not direct them. There is absolutely no role of orchestrating them, is what Tehran came out and said. This Wall Street Journal report also claims that meetings were held under the leadership of Ismail Qani, the leader of the IRGC's international military arm and the Quds force. The report highlighted that Iran is devoting its foreign resources towards coordinating, financing and arming militias that are antagonistic to Israel. Now, this Wall Street Journal report also said that the Iranian-backed IRGC wants to create a multi-front threat. They want to strangle Israel from all sides, and which is why they planned this entire attack. Hamas and Hezbollah members and the Iranian officials speaking to Wall Street Journal said that Hezbollah and the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine would operate from the north. The Palestinian Islamic Jihad and the Hamas in Gaza and the West Bank, they would continue this onslaught. Now, Israel is strongly retaliating to Hamas's surprise attack. They've launched what is called as an Operation Swords of Iron. Now, Israel formally declared war and gave the green light for significant military steps that were to be taken to retaliate against the Hamas for the surprise attack. Israel's military pounded the Palestinian enclave of Gaza by airstrikes. We've seen that happen non-stop over the last 72 hours. Israeli Air Force launched retaliatory airstrikes targeting Hamas leaders. Operational headquarters and assets all came under attack. Israel's Defense Forces spokesperson claimed that Israeli troops have reclaimed control of most of the border towns as far as Gaza is concerned. Israel's defense forces also claim that dozens of Palestinian militants infiltrating into Israel from Gaza by either land, sea or air, all of them have been apprehended or killed. Israeli Defense Minister also came out and said that there is going to now be a complete siege as far as the Gaza Strip is concerned. Electricity, food, water, gas, all of it is going to be cut off. All of it is going to be closed. There is going to be a chokehold from Israel's point of view. But Israel is facing several questions as far as its intelligence is concerned. Remember, it's believed to be one of the most developed intelligence measures as far as the world is concerned, and yet they could not see this attack coming. It was caught napping, it was caught unprepared. Let's take a look at why exactly these questions are being raised as far as intelligence failure is concerned. An all-out assault was seen from Hamas's side despite Israel having its strongest militaries. The Shin Bet, which is responsible for domestic security, the Mossad, the esteemed Foreign Intelligence Service, they all failed one after another. It's considered one of the most advanced defense systems in the world. The Iron Dome, an all-weather defense system, that too failed after it was reportedly sabotaged, which is why questions are being raised as to the role of how Israel did not see it coming. The Israel Defense Forces, the IDF, they are the strongest military in the Middle East. They are one of the most respected worldwide, and they're caught completely by surprise. What explains that? Which is why those questions are being raised of Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister. Some experts also feel that there was no vigilance as the entire reaction as far as the Israel and Saudi deal was concerned. Something that Israel should have been prepared for. A consequence is what Israel should have been prepared for, is what many analysts across the world believe. But even as we saw this mindless violence take lives of at least 800 people over the last 72 hours, the world stands united as far as Israel is concerned. Prime Minister Modi came out and stood with solidarity with Israel. He said this is nothing but a terrorist attack and it has to be called that. Italy too came out and said that Israel has its right to defend itself given the circumstances. Ukraine, another country that has been ravaged by war for over a year and a half. President Zelensky also came out and said that we cannot doubt Israel's right to defend itself, which is why we're seeing this onslaught now in the aftermath of what happened. The United Kingdom too came out and said that we support Israel's right to defend itself. United States too standing firmly with Benjamin Netanyahu and the people of Israel. Germany, another country, another ally coming out, condemning Hamas's attacks, standing by Israel. Brazil too condemning the series of bombings that took place, that continue to take place even today. Belgium, they came out and said that terror perpetuates suffering and it hinders dialogue and that should not be tolerated in a civilized world. The European Commission also came out and said that Israel has the right to defend itself, which is why we're seeing the kind of onslaught that we're seeing now. France too expressed solidarity with the victims and families, Greece condemning the Hamas attack as well. World leaders standing by. We saw several buildings across the world that were lit up with the Israeli flag over the last 2 days. All of them sending one message loud and clear: this is a terrorist attack. Israel has the right to fight back.
The scenes that we've seen in Israel over the past 36 hours are truly horrifying. I want to express my absolute solidarity for the people of Israel. Now is not a time for equivocation, and I'm unequivocal. Hamas and the people who support Hamas are fully responsible for this appalling act of terror, for the murder of civilians and for the kidnapping of innocent people, including children. I've just spoken with Prime Minister Netanyahu to assure him of the UK's steadfast support as Israel defends itself against these appalling attacks. We will do everything that we can to help. Terrorism will not prevail.
Israelis themselves, Israeli journalists who were here in Ukraine, who were in Bucha, are now saying that they saw the same evil where Russia came. The same evil. And the only difference is that there is a terrorist organization that attacked Israel, and here is a terrorist state that attacked Ukraine. The intentions declared are different, but the essence is the same.
Aber auch wir in Deutschland müssen nun besonders wachsam sein. Wir müssen das jüdische Leben in unserem Land schützen und stark und entschlossen gegen jede Form von Antisemitismus und Israel-Hass stellen. Wir können es nicht dulden, wenn auf offener Straße versucht wird, die brutalen Attacken auf Israel auch noch zu feiern. Wer diesen Terror bejubelt, der entwürdigt nicht nur die Opfer, der tritt auch die Menschenwürde und unsere deutsche Verfassung.
Now, the world is wary of what exactly is happening. Can this conflict get out of hand? And if it does, then what are going to be the consequences? Is there going to be a domino effect that we see? Joining me on this broadcast is member of the Belgian Parliament, Daria Safai. Nadav Steinem, chairman of the board of the International Legal Forum, joins us on this broadcast. Tara Karta, distinguished fellow of the IPCS and former director of the National Security Council Secretariat, also with me. And former Indian diplomat G. Parthasarathy, also with me on this broadcast. Let me open this conversation up by asking Daria Safai. Now, Ms. Safai, there are a lot of people that would like to believe that this is not a terrorist act. But are there two ways of looking at this, or is that section just shying away from calling spade a spade?
First of all, I want to say how sorry I am for what the Israeli people nowadays are going through. Our heart is with them. And what is very important in this story is not to forget that one of the biggest problems of the terrorism worldwide is the regime of Iran. When I hear the leaders of the world talking about Hamas, I should say, of course, Hamas is just a little piece of what we should call as the mother of the terrorism in Middle East, and this is Revolutionary Guard of Islamic Republic of Iran, which is unfortunately forgotten in whole that story, as it is always behind this kind of proxy wars. These proxy wars are against Israel because the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Islamic regime of Iran, ideologically thinks that Israel should vanish from the whole world, should be destroyed, and that's what the leader, the supreme leader of this Islamic regime of Iran, Ali Khamenei, writes on his Twitter X social media just 4 days before the attack of Hamas, which they prepared together. I mean, this is the most important thing that we should pay a lot of attention to, because this is the money of the Western countries which goes to the regime of Iran, which directly goes to Hezbollah, Hamas, Jihad al-Islami. As you know, the last technology, the modern drones, thousands in 20 minutes, is just something that only a regime like Iran can bring all these drones to smuggle them to Gaza and then prepare everything, cyber attacks, so that the Israelis, they cannot see what's going on, and then continue to do it. This is just an organization more than Hamas or Hezbollah. It's about the regime of Islamic Republic of Iran.
But Iran comes out and says that this is a completely political accusation. There's absolutely no truth to it. We have several countries that are pointing towards it, but even the United States, Ms. Safai, is not really taking Tehran's name. Perhaps that gives a clean sheet to the regime. Do you think so?
Unfortunately, of course, the USA doesn't accept that it sits the money, $6 billion that they recently gave to the Islamic Republic of Iran. Of course, they are ashamed to admit, to say that this is our money, Western money which are released and goes to the Islamic Republic to be kept as drones and bombed on the head of the Israelis. They are ashamed of saying that they know that this is the regime of Iran. But we know which regime in the whole world. I guarantee you, it's not about only the Iranian people. It's about the safety of the world. As I told before, when the people of Iran were having their own revolution, I told several times, it's on the world to support this revolution of the people of Iran, because unless this regime until this regime exists, the world won't see a second of safety, not only in Middle East, but also even here will become the unsafety situation, like we see how Russia aggression on Ukraine is supported by the regime of Iran. This is what the regime of Iran wants, to vanish Israel, to fight against Western countries, and of course the USA with Biden as president has made a big mistake to support this regime financially and to let them survive and be kept.
Absolutely. And you speak of Ukraine and other Steinem, not to make a comparison, a direct one at that, between the two conflicts. But even when we saw the Ukraine war begin last February, no one thought that it was going to be dragging on for a year and a half. We've seen 3 days of conflict take place there in West Asia. What do you think is going to be the next step? What happens next? What happens from here on? How long, in your opinion, do you think is this going to drag on for?
This is something which is unfortunately has begun. And nowadays, Israel will be busy with its own fronts. Of course, should first finish the problem in Gaza and maybe also Lebanon Hezbollah attack,
Yes.
because Islamic Republic wants to attack Israel from several
Yes, Ms. Safai,
fronts.
sorry to interrupt you there, but that question actually was for Nadav Steinem. I'll come back to you, but I want to get in the other panelists on this debate as well. And Mr. Steinem, if you heard what I had to ask, of where do you see this going? How long do you think this is going to drag on? And if that needs to be stopped, then what measures need to be put in place?
I think we have to expect that it will not end shortly. The savagery that we have seen here, I'm sitting in Jerusalem and would not have imagined that the savagery that we encountered would have actually happened. I'm sitting in what is typically my office, but now it's sealed. And because we've had missiles attacking us even in Jerusalem, I think the world needs to understand that the missile attacks have gone and not just are attacking the Jews of Israel, they're attacking mosques. That's indiscriminate fire. We understand a few moments ago that Ramallah was hit as well. So Hamas is not just looking to seek the end of Israel, they're seeking to the destruction of the entire country. And it's not simply the Jewish people, this is a mixed country. So the attacks are just going on, and we have seen savagery that we would not have expected to see in 2023. We would not have expected to see in this country that babies were taken and kidnapped and taken from their mothers and put in cages. We would not have expected to see 85-year-old women being dragged along the street. We would not have seen the heinous acts and savagery of these people. So this cannot continue. No country in the world should be subject to this type of savagery. This is inhuman treatment. And unfortunately, I believe it's going to take longer than we think, but this cannot continue. So what the effect the army will do, I do not know specifically. I am not into army intelligence. I am a lawyer who advocates for the state of Israel. I believe that we will have no alternative but to eradicate Hamas from Gaza. What else option do we have? What would any other country do?
Absolutely, and it's not just the consequences for those two countries, for West Asia, but for the entire world that needs to be looked into, which is also why I want to talk about the Indian perspective. And G. Parthasarathy, I want to get you in. India was the first non-Arab state to recognize the Palestine Liberation Organization. It was perhaps one of the last non-Muslim countries to recognize Israel. From that to what we've seen the Prime Minister come out and unequivocally say yesterday that it was a terrorist attack, there's absolutely no other way to see it. Do you see a change in stance coming in from that to now embracing this Jewish nation of Israel? How do you see that diplomatic shift as far as India is concerned?
Well, foreign policies evolve. They don't remain stagnant. They are based on what happens elsewhere. Now, our recognition of Israel took part after very long discussions for a simple reason that the Arab world are our neighbors and we didn't want to ruin relations, and we did it in a way which I think everyone found acceptable. Since then, relations with Israel have grown, and Israel remains a good partner. But here I think things have really gone beyond what one anticipated. Firstly, I have no doubt that the sort of weapons which have been used could only have been supplied to Hamas by the Iranians. Nobody is going to provide that category of missiles. Nobody has them in this region of the world. It is Iran. And the Iranians are, what is their game? They want to undermine Arab regimes surrounding Palestine. And the poor people of Palestine are being made to suffer because of these political considerations by neighbors. I think the response of ours has been measured, but we also take into account in these matters the views of neighboring Arab countries, and I don't find even one of them backing what has happened. So we would like peace restored. We would like feelings of revenge, because everybody has feelings of revenge. The Israelis have it, the Palestinians have it, to be replaced by a sense of serious dialogue. Now that can only happen if there is international pressure on both the Palestinians and the Israelis. Because one must say that with regard to the discussions with the Palestinians, the Israelis could have been more forthcoming and generous. They are not. And the Palestinians do have genuine causes, but not cause which justifies violence in this form. So the Indian policy will remain one of hoping to bring them together, one of joining others in putting together a dialogue. But the bitterness created by this is going to last a long time, which is going to serve no one's interest. And as I said, we have extremely good relations, especially with the Gulf Arab states.
Yes.
Which is really who are really our neighbors, and therefore they are keeping absolutely silent on this, not commenting. And the Arabs themselves seem to be in two minds on what to do. So the best thing for India is, we have said that what happened was wrong by all those assaults on Israel, and perhaps there has been an overreaction because the response has involved little regard for civilian life. People hitting each other blindly.
Yes.
And one can expect a country like Israel to bear that in mind because it is regarded as a democracy. And I'm sure that we will find ways around it. Interestingly, neither the Americans nor the Russians, neither the Russians nor the Chinese have commented. They are wise, watching how the situation goes. And I think we have done the right thing to say what we have felt, that in this case, Israel was a friendly country with its entire territory under assault.
Yes.
And we could not do anything else than what we've done.
There was also the friendship between Prime Minister Modi and his Israeli counterpart. That's also something that perhaps prompted this kind of...
that's a very well-known fact.
Response, yes. Before I get in, Ms. Tarakarta, I just want to put this in perspective as far as the Indian context is concerned, because this ongoing conflict, the war that we see, has thrown a shadow of uncertainty over the Middle East geopolitical stability. If this situation escalates, then is there going to be a possible impact on India and its economy? Now, there are, the jury is still out on that, but if this war does drag on, then this is perhaps what we could see. Now, India is the world's third largest importer as far as crude oil is concerned. It triggers inflation, it slows down economic growth as well, so something that India must bear in mind. India and Israel are partners in several sectors, including pharma, including agriculture, telecom. All of this could perhaps see an impact if this drags on. There are trade routes like the Suez Canal that might be affected too. Will this affect India's merchandise trade with other countries in that region? That is also something that India is looking very, very closely at. Foreign trade could be affected as well, which is why it's not just India. Many across the world, many countries are looking at this extremely with extreme caution. It could be affected. Insurance premiums, shipping costs could shoot up as well. The fate of the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, that hangs in the balance is what many experts believe. Israel has now declared a war, a full-fledged onslaught as far as this provocation, this escalation is concerned. So where does that leave India? And Tarakarta, which brings me to that particular question. Do you think that this current situation, what's at stake, given this economic corridor that we're looking at, do you think that India perhaps would be forced to pick a side, something that we traditionally have never wanted to do, have never done?
No, I don't think we are going to go in that direction at all, because as far as we are concerned, as Ambassador Parthasarathy said, we condemned it as a serious terrorism strike, which it is. I mean, the kind of the ferocity of this attack is something which no state can deny. This is intolerable. But in terms of, the reactions, the Iranians, of course, have denied any kind of role in this attack. And even the reactions from Israel has been that Iran has been supportive of Hamas and by extension could be in this act. So nothing is really clear as yet as to who exactly supported this extent of an attack. After all, it is a massive attack. And according to what we've seen in leaks, from sources and so on, it's been 2 years in the planning. 2 years. I mean, that's the time where Israel didn't even pick up a chatter from the ground as to what was going on. This is extremely surprising. They had a, sort of village which was set up where the Hamas was training its fighters to attack. That was also there up front, and still nobody knew. I mean, there's a lot which still has to come out. I'm also looking at the Russian reaction to this, where they are talking of, that the two-state theory must come up, that, just attacking the terrorism is not a solution. Very strange reaction there. And it seems to me that the whole idea was obviously to break the budding Saudi-Israel peace negotiation which was going on. It was central to our interest in having that corridor which we talked of. That was part of it, but the central part was this kind of peace process which was going on. Who is that? Something like when you investigate, to put it on a lighter vein, when you're looking at an Agatha Christie novel, you say, who has the motivation? Who has the motive to sabotage this deal? Certainly Iran, one of them, but who else? So that's why I am still, because I think Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has said as yet there is no evidence of money. This thing. Second is the money, 6 billion, which was released by that money has not been touched. And third is that is Iranian money, by the way. It is not a gift of any sort. It is not gifted to them. It is Iranian money which was released. So he has said that money has not been used as yet. So it's still very shaky, because from my experience in terrorism, counter-terrorism, is that you need sanction from someone for an attack of this size. It's not just assistance, you need sanction. And that is what I'm looking at as to who sanctioned this attack.
And that's something that would be investigated. That is something not just the investigation for which not just is in the interest of Israel, but of the entire world as well. And Darius, if I want to get you in on that, we're talking about this coordinated attack, but we also need to talk about, or questions are being raised as to, it was Israel that failed on multiple levels. Its intelligence failed on multiple levels to preempt an attack like this. It was caught completely napping. Yes, now may not be the time to talk about it just as yet, because we're still looking at limiting the kind of damage in terms of humanitarian crisis is concerned. We're still trying to work on that. But fixing accountability is something that will have to be done. The kind of intelligence failure will have to be spoken of, also because the world needs to take lessons from this.
Can I just make some points on the previous speaker or later?
Sure, go ahead.
I just wanted to say this is very important to know that Iran doesn't need this $6 billion right now to help the planning, which, as you said, there are months and years of preparing. Iran has enough money. This is the money which in the future will also be used for that goal of terrorism, the money which is not yet used. Iran is the regime of Iran is a very strong country. The Revolutionary Guard of Islamic Republic is a terrorist organization. It's not a military of one country or one state. But this is the problem, that the world thinks this is just a military group of a country, and they give them the legitimacy. The problem is that the money that Hezbollah is nothing else than a Revolutionary Guard. If you search it on Wikipedia, you will see Hezbollah is created by Revolutionary Guard. Revolutionary Guard is created to help the Muslim world, not Iran. This ideologically country has a lot of power to make everything that they want, and of course they will deny it. Who is going to accept this kind of crime against humanity? They deny if they kill the people, young girls without headscarf, they kill them and they say no, she was sick. Of course they are going to deny everything, but the world should be very strong to accept finally the only victims of Islamic regime of Iran, they are not only Iranian people, but also a lot of other nations. And very soon you will see this fire of Middle East come to Europe, go everywhere else. And this is what we should just understand, the ideology of the Islamic Republic of Iran, founded by Ayatollah Khomeini. This is what we should understand.
Yes, which is why I said there are lessons for the world to be taken here as far as this entire episode is concerned. But right now, the focus is as far as limiting the humanitarian crisis is concerned. At last count, over 800 lives have been lost. If this drags on, many other innocent lives, innocent people that have been caught in the crossfire are unfortunately going to lose their lives. And it's not just Israeli nationals. There are several foreign nationals that have been taken hostage as well. Nadav Steinem, I want to get you in on this as well. Now, yes, the people of the innocents of Israel are caught in the crossfire. Several other foreign nationals in that country have been caught in the crossfire. But what happens to the 2.5 million that are occupants of Gaza, of the Gaza Strip? Now we've seen that there is going to be no electricity, no water, no food. All of that has been cut off as part of an offensive by the Israeli side. But what happens next to those people?
Look, I cannot tell you that I'm not concerned about the welfare of everybody in this region, but the acts of war were committed by Hamas. I agree that there's a humanitarian crisis, but it's on both sides. And no country would withstand the type of treatment that has been had here. In terms of foreign workers, we have seen how Hamas took, and we see videos of foreign workers being beat and dragged through the streets of Gaza. This is not limited to the people here. This is an international crime that is affecting everybody. I hope that the world will look to us, and I believe that it does, to put an end to this, to put an end to this terror. That's what we must do. And we have to do that in a way that is not going to be in the same level of savagery as Hamas. We will do what we can to protect the lives of innocents. Just because the other side refuses to do that, but takes credit and applauds the fact that they go into a music festival that occurred close to the Gaza border on Saturday morning, and they attacked 260 people, were gunned down and murdered. We will not act in the same way. I assure the world of that. I assure your country and around the world. That's not how we will behave. But we must protect ourselves. We must protect ourselves. And as you have all stated, we're not just protecting this country. We're protecting the world from the terror that comes from Iran by their monkeys and their servants, or whoever we want to call them, of Hamas and Hezbollah and other recognized terrorist organizations. We are doing the work of the world. This isn't the work just to protect the people here. We need to do what we can as a coordinated effort to rid ourselves of this neighbor who is controlled by a Hamas terrorist organization. But we believe, and I personally hope, that there are good people, peace-loving people in Gaza who don't want them there either. We have a goal to rid ourselves of terror. And as you have all correctly stated, this is not just terror here. This is terror that is now here, but it can easily come to the whole world. And that's why we need the world's support. Nobody wants to see their 85-year-old grandmother dragged through the streets of their enemies and paraded as a hostage. That is not acceptable in any country. So I just want to repeat, this is just not about here. This is about the world and freedom of terror. We need to rid ourselves of terror. And the world is looking to us, I believe, to assist in that. And we have a job that we must do. It will not be easy. It will be difficult. But we need your support. We need the understanding that we will do what we can to protect the lives of innocents, notwithstanding the fact that our enemies don't do the same.
Absolutely.
We will do the utmost. That's what the Israeli army has done for the past 75 years, and it will strive to do the same.
Which is also why we've seen world powers stand with Israel and defend its right as far as now the counteroffensive is concerned. G. Parthasarathy, we're talking about protecting the world. A lot of what has happened over this weekend has hit home for many here in India as well. You know, the Iron Dome, the all-weather defense system, something that was believed to be the most foolproof, that gave way as far as Israel was concerned. The Mossad, the Shin Bet were no match. Is India also on vulnerable grounds? And if yes, then where do we go forward from that? Those are questions that many are, if not asking, at least thinking.
Well, there's one thing we do. We stay out of these rivalries in the Middle East. I mean, if the Iranians and their Arab neighbors are fighting, it's their business, as long as it does not affect peace in the region. And we are not judgmental about other countries. We don't pass judgment on others. We try to improve ourselves, in fact. So I don't fall in line with this judgment of Iran or anybody else by outsiders. It's for their people to decide, and if they land themselves in trouble, too bad for them. I stand by what I said about I can't see anyone else except Iran being involved in the sort of weaponry which is being used. But at the same time, I think we should stop having stereotypes of others. I think it's important for us that the Arabs and the Persians have a historic rivalry. That continues. And we deal with reality as it is. Being judgmental is not in our scheme of things. And we really want, this is our neighborhood. This is where the invasions of India came from. So we are not some distant European power being judgmental. And I think what we have done is right. And what the Prime Minister said today was absolutely right in expressing our support for Israel in the circumstances it finds itself now. But I don't feel my country needs to get judgmental about others or pass judgment. We talk on the basis of what we regard as facts and as what is in our interests. And as a democracy, naturally we like fellow democracies.
Actually, I wanted to give that point of this is not about judgment. This is about fact. Actually, what you are saying is right. We are not judgmental, but we see the facts. The fact is that the leader of the country writes on its X, we are going to destroy Israel 4 days before the attack. This is the fact. The fact is the day that Hamas are killing innocent people on the streets, Islamic Republic of Iran makes a banner of meters high, write the good words for the successful operation of storm of Al-Aqsa and hang it on the Palestine square. This is a fact. We are not judgmental.
Sure.
And I just want to guarantee my colleague or the one who is defending Israel right here, I want to guarantee you that we are going to be the voice of Israeli people in whole the world. In Europe, the things are changing. Of course, the Palestinians, they are also victims, but they are the victims of Hamas.
Absolutely. Hamas is a terrorist organization. This is a terrorist attack. There are no two ways about it. And that's really how the world sees it as well, barring a few nations, barring a few sections. But as a whole, the world does see this as a terror attack, which is why we're standing by with Israel. That's the unequivocal message that has come to the fore from around the world. How this drags on, what are going to be the implications, we'll have to wait and watch out for that. But I have to leave it there. I thank you all for joining us here on this broadcast on this edition of The Right Stand. It is time for a quick break here on this edition. Back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.